Let's bring in the head coach of Michigan State. All he does is get to the tournament. I believe 21 consecutive years in the NCAA tournament. Is that right, Coach Izzo?
Yeah, I think it is 21.
Oh, don't act like you don't know. Come on. Okay, I want to start with you here. You were a Division II All-American, right?
Yeah, really small college.
Okay, but you played Northern Michigan, right?
Right.
Okay. Who plays the game in the NBA the way you played in college?
The manager of the Golden State Warriors.
And he's probably a Division I All-American. But were you a gunner?
No, I was a passer, man. I was a pleaser.
Oh, okay.
I kept other guys in touch. I did the same thing in high school. I tried to feed Mariucci the ball, but he missed a lot of shots, so I didn't get any assists in high school. So college, he was playing football then, so I didn't have to worry about all those missed shots he'd have.
But you were Division II All-American.
Yeah, they hand those out if you have some good stats. And, I started – my first start, if you can believe this, was my sophomore year against Michigan State at home. Gus Kanakis, Gregory Kelser, and that group came up to Northern Michigan. You think that wasn't in the UP, that was something big, boy.
How much you lose by?
25.
Okay, that's not bad.
Wasn't too bad,
If I had a shooting contest between you, Coach K, and Jim Boeheim,
I think I'd win it. I really do. I think I'd win it just because of my youthfulness.
How? Coach K has a back problem, but he was a great scorer in high school. I think he led to city of Chicago in scoring.
I know, but Mike's getting old, and he's got that back problem. So I don't think his rotation isn't as good.
So you're not getting old.
No, I'm actually staying the same. When you're a Division II guy, you got to stay the same. It doesn't change.
Did you?
Boeheim and Krzyzewski were Division I guys.
Did you recruit Zion Williamson?
No. Sometimes you look at certain players and. Excuse me, you're probably not going to get them. So that was one of them. I think Zion was destined for Duke or Kentucky.
Well, who else did you say? Like, did you recruit Kobe? Did you recruit Kevin Garnett, LeBron?
We did recruit Kevin Garnett and LeBron a little bit. We had won the national championship when LeBron was a freshman, and his high school coach was from the state of Michigan at that time, Keith Dambrod, who's now the coach at Duquesne. And so we were in there a little bit, and then I saw him that summer, and I realized that there is not a chance in the world that he's going to college.
Okay.
So we bagged out of that one.
All right, where are we headed with the one-and-done rule? Looks like it's changing.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going. I think all these rules are going to change. I just, Dan, I mean this as strongly as I can. I know everybody's thinking we're giving the kids the most freedom and it's best for them, but I don't know about you, Dan, but I made a lot of average decisions at 18, 19 years old, and I think a lot of these kids, there's going to be some LeBrons, but there's going to be a lot more that aren't LeBrons, and then what are they going to be like in a year or two when they don't make it? So I worry about it. I think it's going to cause a lot of kids to kind of bag school, and, I hear some guys talking that it's only going to be 6 or 8 kids. There's going to be a lot more than that think they're good enough, and there'll be a lot more agents and middlemen telling them they're good enough, and I don't think it's going to affect college that much. I think it'll affect pro a little bit more, but I think the biggest person it's going to affect is the kids themselves.
But you're not. I mean, how many times are you recruiting a one-and-doner at Michigan State?
I've had 3 or 4 of them, and 2 of them didn't think they'd be one and done, and they ended up one and done. But I'm not recruiting many kids that. You go into it that way, but I think once that rule comes out, there'll be a lot more kids thinking they're one and done. And yet, throughout most years, there's not as many that really can do that. But I think once the kids get set on it, it's going to change, and it's going to make it a little more difficult for them and for us.
Yeah, my only issue, I take issue with what you're saying, is we don't care about kids in other sports who you could have soccer players who could be signing, at 10, 12 years of age. Tennis players do this. Baseball players, hockey players do this. Golfers do this. It feels like we're looking out for basketball players when it feels like that's more of, we don't want to ruin our sport or our tournament. We want to have these stars. I'll take somebody one and done just so I got to see Carmelo for 1 year. So I don't know. It feels like we're overprotective.
I wouldn't mind taking a one and done, so you could have them for a year. But now that won't happen. It'll be a none and done. And as you say that, look at it the other side. Hasn't worked out so bad for football and football players. Do you think the NBA players? Do you hear the commissioner talking about, are these young new millennials having any fun? Are they enjoying it? Are they appreciating it? Could you handle, $50 million at 17, 18 years old?
I can't handle it now.
Me neither. That's exactly what I'm saying. And so I don't think we see the studies on what it does. If you look at Hollywood, those young stars that come out later on in life, it hasn't ended up very good for a lot of them that started really young,
Yeah.
And I worry the same thing. So I don't care. Michigan State's going to be standing whether we're one and done, none and done, or four and done, But why not look on the other side of it? It's worked out pretty good for football, and those kids get a little more mature and they get a little better opportunity, and maybe they can handle things a little better.
He's Tom Izzo, Michigan State head basketball coach, joining us, Continental Tire Coach's Corner. What's your best closing line you ever had with a recruit? Like, you ever walked out going, I killed it?
Yeah, I usually get down on my hands and knees and say, hey, listen, for my wife and my children, would you please come?
Have you ever cried when you lost a recruit?
No. Oh yeah. Chris Webber. I mean, I'll remember it till the day I die because I'd recruited him for over 4 years, and loved Chris. And that was one of those. I was kind of young then. I was still an assistant, but you do get emotionally involved with some of these kids, especially if you recruit them for a long time.
Have you ever gone out? Have you ever waited or gone to a recruit's house and then gone outside and then saw like Coach K ready to come in or something, or Calipari?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's more so at the schools, when you go there and everybody's lining up and you get, different times, and that's not always a good feeling. Those two guys seem to be able to lasso most of the guys they want. To me, they're more in a selection stage, and I'm more in a begging stage.
What happens when you get to the tournament? Like, what changes with you and your team that we've seen these runs out of Michigan? We're not surprised anymore. So what?
Well, I do think for the most part, if we can stay healthy, which we last couple of years haven't been as healthy, but if we can stay healthy, I think teams, we've gotten better, and I think there's a culture here where they believe they can win. We've gone to a Final Four, I think, as a 7 seed, and we've not gone as a 1 seed. So sometimes it's a coin flip. The one thing, Dan, about that tournament, boy, it comes down to matchups. It comes down to, Middle Tennessee beat us a couple of years. Which we'll call beat Duke. I mean, sometimes teams get hot. The difference, I tell all my football buddies, usually in football, the bigger, stronger, faster, better team wins. But in basketball, between the three-point shot and referees, which could eliminate guys, in football you can get 5 holding penalties, but at least that tackle is still in the game. In basketball, he's out. Yeah. And that makes a difference for more upsets and more problems. But we've kind of hung in there because I think we've got a pretty good culture where they believe that we can do well in March.
Are you more apt to send a text to one of your former players after a good game or a bad game?
Their good game or my good game?
No, their good game or bad game.
Oh, I usually send more after bad games. All their girlfriends and family members are sending them after the good games. Nobody likes you after a bad game. So I usually send a text or make a call after a tough game, or maybe if a guy got injured or something. But that's been the fun. It's been fun to follow your guys that are in the league, and it's fun that they follow you. We got some guys coming back this weekend. I think they're going to try to sneak in.
Oh, that's nice. Nice. Is that for the Michigan game?
The Michigan game, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Weber did say, when I asked him about, Paulie, do you have the Chris Weber?
Yeah, Coach, about 4 years ago, we had Weber on the show, and you asked him if he had a mulligan when he go to Michigan or Michigan State, and Chris Weber said, quote, "Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that." He talked about the love he had for you. He goes, "The truth is, I don't want to answer that right now."
Yeah, that's fair. I did have I think a great relationship with Chris and his family. In fact, his younger brother came here as a walk-on, and still I know Mateen and Chris are close, and I have a lot of respect for Chris. I started recruiting him when he was in 8th grade. I really did, and had him up here. In fact, Scott Skiles was playing then, if you can believe that. He might have been in 7th grade, and we had him up for the last game of the year, and that's where the recruiting started. It just didn't end quite good enough for us, but I've remained a friend to him.
Can you confirm this story with Scott Skiles?
What is it?
Okay. Michigan State is playing Georgetown.
Yeah.
And Skiles is dribbling by the Georgetown bench and says to John Thompson, "I need you to get a bleeping bleeper out here who can guard me."
Well, if you want the truth, I don't know if he said that, and I would never say that to John, but Scott's a little crazier than me. But in the first half of that game, I think he went 1 for 8. And if I recall it right, in the second half, I think he was 7 for 8. And when Scott got on a little roll, I was just a GA then, but when Scott got on a little roll, he had a tendency to be the Michael Jordan of his day. He could talk it with anybody. So it wouldn't surprise me, but I'd never say that to John. I got too much respect for John.
No, Skiles was one of my favorite players because he wasn't afraid of anybody.
No, I'll tell you a good story, Dan. It was Valentine's Day his senior year, and we're playing Iowa, and I think it was I'm trying to remember the player and the coach now. Player I think was from Michigan too. Played for the Bulls. Very good player, little guard, and he goes running out there.
B.J. Armstrong?
B.J. Armstrong, yeah, B.J.
Yep.
And he goes running out there with this big card, and he gives the card as they shake hands. That's when the two teams would alternate, and they'd shake hands at the middle. They don't do that anymore. But he gave Scott a card. Scott, brought over the bench, gave it to me, and, what the hell's this, Well, after the game, they asked the coach, why did he give him a card? He said, well, everybody else makes Scott mad, and he scores 35. So I decided to be nice to him, and he only got 25. So, that was a true story. And
is that Dr. Tom Davis?
No, that was, oh, God. Ended up going to USC.
Tim Floyd?
No. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, we'll figure.
You guys can't remember. It's your guys' job to figure those things out.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, it wasn't Lute Olson.
Nope.
Midnight Lute.
Nope. It was, you named three
George Raveling.
George Raveling. It was George. George was great. He was that kind of guy, too. And he had BJ give him that
card.
That card, and it was a nice Valentine's Day card. And he said, and it's true. Scott Skiles, to this day, was one of the few players that ever could play mad and angry. A lot of guys think they can, but it usually works in their detriment. The madder he got, and the more people got on him, the better he played, And so that's why Jed got on him all the time.
Riled him up. Hey, good luck against the Wolverines. And we'll probably talk to you during the tournament. That is, if
That'd
you
be great, man.
Either you bow out early or you have your usual tournament run. Either way, we'll probably check in with you.
I appreciate it, Dan.
Thank you,
love
Coach.
The show, and thank you, man.
That's Tom Izzo, Michigan State's head coach. Yeah, Scott Skiles. Didn't Scott Skiles have the NBA record for most assists in a game when he was with Orlando, like 24?
He had the record for a while. Let me check.
Okay. Continental Tire Coach's Corner, proud to be the exclusive tire of the Dan Patrick Show. No matter where you drive, what you drive, how you drive, Continental designs tires for what you do. For more information, visit ContinentalTire.com. Continental Tire for what you do.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.